What's going on, Soul Tribe? And welcome to Alchemist Astrology. Justin here, and bringing a little nugget to add to the Soul Tribe archive. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about Venus in Leo in the 10th house. And this is a pretty dope one, I think, for Venus to be in. Now, when you talk about that lovely Venus, Venus is the things that we love, we desire. It's the Venus makes things just more beautiful, more pleasant, more enjoyable. It brings this idea of merriment and companionship, connection, friendship, marriage. There's a strong artistic energy that comes with Venus. Venus can even be to the dealings with sort of like trade and things, as far as like working with like factories, markets, things, the weighing of coins, bringing things into harmony, the buying of ornaments and things. Those were a lot of those sort of Venusian qualities there. And Venus is one of the benefics, and this is especially positive for those if you have a night chart, because Venus is the benefic of sect in a night chart. So you really want to have that good connection there and seeing what houses Venus rules. Now, when we talk about Leo, Leo's ruled by the sun, and they're the fixed fire sign, and it's one of the diurnal signs, so it's more active in nature when you think about Leo. And I think there's something really inspiring about Leo. There's a consistency that I think with Leo, and when you're doing the thing that you're passionate about, that lights your fire. I think of Leo as an oven, and you're feeding it that light that just makes it shine brighter and brighter. And there's a huge, I think, inspiration that comes with Leo. This real strong sense of self, being able to, and just to be able to put that out there in the world there, and have that attract those, and people really kind of see that there, especially with this placement. So yeah, it's extraordinary. I think sometimes what Leo energy can accomplish. And then you have talk about the 10th house. This is one of the angular houses, so this is going to be a prominent house after the first house. This is the second most prominent house, and you're going to want to pay attention to where the midheaven falls, because most of the time you'll see it either fall. I work with whole sign houses, so it could either fall in the 10th, the 11th, or the ninth house. And when you're thinking about some of the themes of the 10th house, this can deal with like your occupation. This could think about your rank, the things that you want to accomplish, your ambitions, your achievements, the things that you want to master on this journey. This can deal with authorities. It can get into marriage. It can deal so very public life can be another thing that comes with that 10th house. And the planets in there are really prominent when we're thinking about there, especially if they're conjoined that midheaven. So when you're working with this placement, a few things to consider. One, you would have a Scorpio rising, and you're going to want to look to see where the sun is, because it's going to import the themes of this house to wherever it is. And then Venus is going to be responsible for the houses of your seventh house, which deals with like any sort of like one-on-one relationships, friendships. This can get into marriage, business partnerships, travel could be another thing that shows up with the seventh house. And then it also rules your 12th house, which gets into things like illnesses, sort of like, or it can be about dangers. It can get into kind of foreign lands was another thing with the 12th house. Isolation could be one thing that shows up there. It can deal with sometimes enemies can show up in the 12th house. But some things that I would walk through with someone who, or some things to kind of look at when you're thinking about this placement, is one, again, seeing how prominent is Venus, either conjoin that midheaven or is it squaring that ascendant, because then that's going to again make Venus more prominent, and in the houses that Venus rules going to be more prominent, especially when there's aspects that are forming to your natal Venus. But with having a benefic here, especially in a night chart, this would be considered the most positive house in your chart, considering that Venus is here. And so looking at how those themes have shown up for you, maybe it could be where Venus has introduced you to a lot of people, maybe in some prominent positions, people that who hold maybe authority in whatever given field that you're dealing with. Venus can deal with the end with like arts, in the arts. It can deal it could deal in like management, maybe happen to deal with CEOs. So this would be a really great one, I think, for learning how to really foster those connections and keeping those long lasting ones, that there has that sort of reciprocity that's happening, this mutual sort of benefits that are happening. This would even be great for whatever you're thinking about wanting to accomplish there. getting a mentor, having some sort of teacher, some sort of private instructor, I think that would be, that would work wonders, and I think that it's, you're allowing yourself to let people introduce, their knowledge to you. I think it could really take you far. I think when we're talking about Venus in this placement here, this could even be where maybe your happier occupation might be something that leads you to where you're traveling. Just thinking about those seventh house themes, maybe it's something with like a flight attendant, or maybe you happen to do something with those, thinking about 12th house themes, maybe do something with like medicine, that you happen to do, like maybe some sort of like nursing, maybe sort of like some Doctors Without Borders, maybe whatever that might potentially look like. Maybe you happen to be like a musician, happens to go on tour, maybe like an artist, like a painter, maybe a sculptor, something like that. Maybe you have various companies in different countries. That could even be potentially something that shows up there. To expand your market, see how things do outside of where you're going. You could be, again, Venus could surprise you with how that may potentially work out there. So that could be really nice there. And again, I think again, bringing in maybe those sort of kind of prominent people in your sort of sphere, I think could be something that's really cool. Maybe happen to know friends who happen to travel quite a bit, maybe for their work. Possibly they're just thinking how that rules their others people's houses. You don't have to be doing these things, but this could be, people telling you about different places that they've explored, hearing these sort of different stories. They could be, it would be really exciting. That maybe happen to meet your spouse there. Maybe happen to meet them while traveling, or maybe they happen to be, maybe someone from some other place different than you. So that could even be something that could potentially show up there. Thinking about Venus, but, and I would even say too, having that be, again, a very kind of active public life, maybe getting involved, see, experiencing different cultures. Yeah, I think that would be I think that would be really cool. I think Venus would bring a lot in, could potentially bring a lot in this, especially, the Venus dealing with predominantly women. When we're thinking about this, is not to say that there won't be others, but this could be very even like notable females that happen to be in your sphere there. So that could be something that comes up. I'm trying to think what else. I'd even look into, because Venus could deal with like sort of like priesthoods, and I was just thinking about like that, exploring as far as like the different, just again what different cultures have to, how that can inspire one and change one's, seeing how maybe other people kind of manage their maybe businesses, or in things like in the field that you're doing. Get different inspirations from them, see what influences come to you when you deal with that. Could be a really nice way, I think, of working with this placement too. And again, of course it's going to depend on how the sun is positioned this, but the sun's never too far away from, or Venus is never too far away from the sun. So yeah, that's interesting. I like this. I like this placement for Venus here. And these would just be some of the things. Or anything else that I wanted to talk about with this one? I think about covered the. I could say, I could see this as like a chef. Even something along those lines. That could be another thing there. Sending, yeah, doing any sort of trade thing, I think would be really, really positive, I think, for this placement there. But that doesn't have to be the only thing that you're doing. And you need the rest of the chart to get a better picture of this thing anyway. So if that's something that first, if you have this placement or know someone who's working with this placement, down in the comment section, let us know how this has showed up for you. This is to see how Venus, and it's nice to get to see those differences. Venus in like a first house versus like a 10th versus the 5th versus the 12th. Just seeing those things and understanding those differences is really fascinating to see how prominent Venus can show up, especially in those angular houses. So yeah, tell us how you've experienced that, and if this is something where if you want to get to know how to work with your placements more personally, down in the description box, there's a link to book a consultation with me. I swear I'll speak more eloquently on that one. But yeah, if that's something that you're interested in, whether it's learning by transits or even learning about looking for any sort of auspicious things, maybe for starting up a business or anything along those lines, that's available for you down in the description box below. And if you have any questions about the services that I provide, my email's down there. I also have a link for my Patreon page if you want to support the work that I'm doing further. It comes with two tiers. One of them will give you access to the Lucky Day podcast, which is a monthly show that talks about the most auspicious elections for each month and for whatever endeavor that you're wanting to initiate. And the second tier will give you access to that plus a personalized monthly transit report from me. So if that's something that you're I've been talking all day. If that's something that you're interested in, definitely check that out. There are a couple links for the other things that I do in this channel as well, for Celestial News Monthly, for Lunar Shenanigans, and then all the other playlists for any of the other placements that you may happen to have in your chart there. So that's all available for you, but I think that's all I got. So until next time, stay mindful out there. Keep raising that vibration through the roof. And I will catch you on the next one. Later.